And we are back. Welcome to my channel, Get Legit LLC. Disclaimer, people, this is not legal advice. It's not a legal opinion. It's just my sunny Caribbean outlook on legal twists to topics that are in social media, that I see on reality TV, current events, and life events in general. Please do support my channel, and to all my new subscribers, welcome to my channel. And if there's any suggested topics you think I should discuss, please do comment and let me know so I can do the necessary research and do have that discussion. Again, this is not legal opinion. It's not legal advice. It's just my analysis of legal issues that I see. I read relevant reports. I read different articles. I watch the respective shows, and I formed an opinion, and so that opinion is what I am sharing with you all. I tend to use materials that I find on the internet and that I read in different sources. So if those materials are copyrighted materials and you feel as though I went beyond the fair use of that material, please do contact me so I can make the necessary adjustments. For those of you who haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe, like, comment, and yes, do share. This week, today's discussion is on this gentleman. And I'm talking about him as it relates to the US Sun article. They disclosed what they said was exclusively obtained by them, that Martel Holt filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. But this wasn't new to us. We knew this, right? The fans of Love and Marriage will know this. But because it has become a revised topic as a result of him being on, I believe, Housewives of Atlanta, he's given not only a greater platform now, but bigger audience. And guess what? More people will start to snoop into his dealings. So for those of you who might be wondering what Chapter 7 bankruptcy is all about, if you're in a position where you might need to file for bankruptcy, I want to give a snippet of some of the information that I believe is relevant and that you could use to pursue that if that is the case. So it says, in court documents exclusively obtained by the US Sun, Martel indicated that he owed less than 50 creditors between $1 million to $10 million. Yes, that is a lot of amount of money. Ooh, millions. Wow. Anyway, certain debts cannot be discharged in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So why I'm discussing Chapter 7 bankruptcy, that's because that's what he filed it under, okay? So it says certain debts cannot be discharged in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, such as alimony, child support, fraudulent debts, certain taxes, student loans, and certain items charged. Usually, large credit card debts and other unsecured bills coupled with few assets typify, I don't think that's a typify anyway, typify a Chapter 7 bankruptcy filer. In the vast majority of cases, this type of bankruptcy is able to completely eliminate all of the filer's debt. So a Chapter 7 tend to eliminate all your debts, okay? That's the first takeaway from that. But it doesn't discharge everything. And we said the things that you can't discharge under a Chapter 7, alimony. So you can't file for bankruptcy and expect that you won't be able to pay alimony. And alimony is what you pay after a divorce to the respective spouse. Child support, what you pay to your children, or your children generally. Fraudulent debt, certain types of taxes, student loans, and certain items charged. Okay, so the Alabama bankruptcy exemptions, and the reason why I'm looking at Alabama, yes, Martel, he comes from that state. Hence the reason why this video is limited to that state. But whichever state you're from, you could go online and you could do the necessary research so you could know what prevails when it comes to Chapter 7 bankruptcy filing. So it says Alabama bankruptcy exemptions chart details the property you can exempt or protect from creditors when you file bankruptcy in Alabama. You may exempt any property that falls in one of the exemptions categories below, up to the dollar amount listed. You will be able to keep you will be able to keep this exempted property after you file bankruptcy. So I will give you a list later and I'll make some reference to some of those things that you're exempted from when it comes to filing for bankruptcy. An exemption limit applies to any equity you have in the property. Equity is the difference between the value of the property and what you owed on the property. For example, a car valued at $5,000 with a loan of $4,500. That means you have an equity of $500. If the property is secured by a loan, such as a car or a home, and you are current on the payments, the equity is covered by your exemptions, and you elect to keep making payments on the loan. You generally can keep the property through the bankruptcy. If all the equity is not covered by your exemption, the trustee may elect to liquidate this asset and distribute the assets. Generally, in this case, you would be entitled to the value of your exemption in the asset as a cash payment. Bankruptcy law allows married couples filing jointly to each claim a full set of exemptions, unless otherwise noted. To keep non-exempt property, a debtor must generally pay the trustee the value of the non-exempt property. In this case, when you talk about the debtor, they're making reference to Martel. When you file bankruptcy in Alabama, you may also use certain federal exemptions in addition to your Alabama exemptions. Alabama bankruptcy exemptions. Alabama's homestead exemption can be used to protect the equity you have in your home. Depending on how much equity you have, the Alabama homestead exemption may allow you to keep your home in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. The homestead exemption in Alabama can be used to protect real estate like a home and the land it sits on, or in a mobile home. The homestead exemption in Alabama protects up to $15,000 in equity for single filers, or up to $30,000 if you're married and own the home with your spouse. The property can't be larger than 160 acres. So the fact that the article said Martel remained with the home, that means the property was not larger than 160 acres. Your home and land are called real property. Pretty much everything else you own is personal property. You can think of personal property as anything you own that's movable. That's a typographical error, my apologies. That's movable. Here's a list of property that's fully exempt property or has no exemption limit in the state of Alabama. A burial place and a church pew or seat. Clothing, books, and family portraits and pictures. Tools of trade, arms, uniforms, and equipment required to be kept by state military personnel. Motor vehicle and wildcard exemption. Many states have a motor vehicle exemption amount, but Alabama doesn't. This doesn't mean that you have to give up a car you own or have equity in if you file bankruptcy. If you want to keep your car, you can use the wildcard exemption. This exemption can be used to protect any personal property up to $7,750 except for earned wages and your salary. If you own property such as a car that's not covered by an exemption to cover it, for example, there is no exemption to protect household goods and furnishings in Alabama. So if you want to exempt a dining room table or any other furniture you own, you can do so by using the wildcard exemption. Alternatively, you can add all or part of the wildcard exemption amount to another exemption if it's not enough to cover your personal property. Alabama exemption for income and benefits. Wages. Under Alabama law, you can keep 75% of your unpaid weekly net income. That's a typographical error again. Your, Y-O-U-R, that's what it should be. Net income is the amount you take home after deductions. Retirement accounts, Retirement accounts can be exempt up to their full value. Money benefits, public assistance can be exempt up to the full monetary value. When might a Chapter 7 bankruptcy help you? A Chapter 7 bankruptcy can help you if you have very few assets and are faced with a big problem that cannot be solved by any other way. Examples include some garnishments and some lawsuits against you. You usually must have less monthly income than most Alabamans. If you have more income than most Alabamans, you can afford to pay $100 per month towards debt. You must use Chapter 13 instead. The court looks at your monthly income, expenses, and your total debt to decide whether you can file Chapter 7. So look at this, where it says, if you have more income than most Alabamians and you can afford to pay $100 per month towards your debt, you must file a Chapter 13 instead. Is that telling us something about Martel? I don't know. Anyway, what happens to my property if I file Chapter 7? You can protect $7,500 in personal property and $15,000 in equity on your house and land. If you are married, you can protect $30,000 in equity on your house and land because it's doubled, right? You can also keep exempt money, which includes Social Security and earned income disregards. You can also keep money from a 401k, state requirement of workers' compensation. If you own something that is collateral for a debt, such as a car you are buying over time, you must either give it up or work out a reaffirmation agreement. You cannot get rid of the debt for your car and keep the car. Could that be what happened to Ariane's car? Interesting. Does Chapter 7 get rid of all my debts? Of course you're going to ask that, right? It's a natural, normal question. The answer is no. And this is, remember, Alabama, the answer is no. Bankruptcy does not get rid of several kinds of debt. Child support, alimony, fines, debts for hurting someone while driving drunk, or debts from fraud or malicious acts. For the most part, it does not get rid of tax, debts, or student loans. Next question. If I file a Chapter 7 once, can I file again? If you file Chapter 7 and you get rid of your debts, you can file again for at least 8 years. So I believe the article said Martel filed in 2020 or 2021. So you come 8 years from then. So 8 years, you cannot file again. Okay, based on this information that I'm reading. That is why you want to be sure you are ready for a fresh start. If you have ongoing medical bills and no insurance, bankruptcy might be best for you. When might a Chapter 13 help you? Chapter 13 can help people who have fallen far behind on house payments or rent. It can help you only if you have steady income. You need to make both your regular house payments and payments on what you are behind. Chapter 13 can also help you catch up on your car loan. However, that usually is only worthwhile if the car is worth a good deal more than what you owe, right? After someone repossesses your car, it's too late to save it by filing a Chapter 13. So if your car has been repossessed or repo, you can file a Chapter 13 to save it. It's gone. So according to the U.S. Sun article, Martel Holt, Chapter 7 bankruptcy documents reveal that he listed his ex-wife Melody Holt, American Express, Capital One, Lowe's, and Home Depot and the IRS as persons that he owed, right? So the question then becomes, can the IRS be discharged in a Chapter 7 filing? Let's see. So according to the U.S. Sun article, Martel Holt filing for Chapter 7, it states, from the Internal Revenue Service alone, he owed outstanding amounts of over $76,000 in 2017, over $66,000 in 2018, and over $731,000 in 2019. Filing for Chapter 7 bankruptcy at the right time can prevent the IRS from pursuing wage garnishment or recovery from your bank account. Once the IRS records a tax lien, however, the lien will stay on the property and you will have to pay the tax lien in order to sell the property. So, the next question. Is Alabama sales tax owed to the Department of Revenue dischargeable in bankruptcy? Well, in Pfeiffer and Alabama Department of Revenue 126, and there is a citation, the bankruptcy court held that the Alabama sales tax constitutes a trust fund tax, and as such is not dischargeable in bankruptcy pursuant to Section 11 USC Section 507A7C. A trust fund tax is a tax which is levied directly on the consumer and required to be collected by the merchant and reported to the state. So you can be exempted from sales tax, from the state sales tax. And this is what I'm making reference to in Alabama. And then there is a judgment. All right. So what is the duration of a tax lien? Once a lien has arisen, it will continue until the liability for the amount assessed is satisfied, released, or becomes unenforceable by reason of lapse of time. That is 10 years from the date the lien is filed. So when will the Department of Revenue terminate a tax lien? A valid question, right? The department may at any time release all or any portion of the property subject to the lien from the lien or subordinate the lien to other liens if it determines that the taxes are sufficiently secured by a lien on other property of the taxpayer, or that the release or subordination of the lien will not endanger or jeopardize the collection of such taxes. A certificate by the Department of to the effect that any property has been released from the lien or that such lien has been subordinated to other liens is conclusive evidence that the property has been released or that the lien has been subordinated as provided in the certificate. If any lien imposed by Section 412 and Section 40-1-2 and Section 40-29-20 has been satisfied and a notice of lien has been recorded by the department pursuant to Section 40-1-2C, the department shall issue a release of the lien to the person against whom the lien was claimed. The department shall record the lien's release in any county where the original lien was recorded and in the office of the Secretary of State, if applicable. I know that is a lot, but you could look at the video, you could pause, and you could take in the information. And for those of you who might need to do a Martel and file, there's no shame in that. It's what life happens, things happen, relationship change. She went through a divorce. They dissolved companies, so there was a need for them to make a bankruptcy filing. And I noticed the article also made reference to he also filed with his ex-wife on behalf of the company. Please understand that when you incorporate a company stands alone. A company has its own, it's a person, which is why a company can sue and be sued. So even though Mel and Martel were the directors and the subscribers of this particular company, really and truly, the way the article makes it seem, they brought Mel into it by virtue of both of them owning the company, but really the company is a company. So Holt Perseverance Academy, that is what filed for bankruptcy. Yes, we know Martin and Melody are the owners, but the company stands alone. Holt Preservation Academy can sue, can be sued, and as such, filed for bankruptcy. I just wanted to put that piece in there. And this is where I end this video. Thank you for all who supported the channel, all the new subscribers. Thank you. And to that, I say goodbye.